All right, here we go. Here I am on Apolitical Corner. I'm not doing veteran talk or Apolitical Corner as far as the politics goes. This is going to be a mixed and I would say kind of special episode. I have Cypher from Cynical Historian on today, and we are going to go into various things. I'm going to try to keep the format a little bit different than I usually do with the Veteran Talk interviews. As everyone knows, when I interview somebody who is a veteran, I go into their service, I go into what they're doing now and what their future goals will be, how they think people can help out veterans. As far as changing the perception, right now, today, I am doing something different. If no one knows, it is hard for historians on YouTube to be monetized. They may get one or two videos in that are monetized, and then you'll have 6 to 10 videos that get demonetized.
It's kind of the opposite ratio, actually.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well,
I
so
have currently about 1/6 of the channel demonetized.
okay. So a lot more getting through now.
No, it's just been that same ratio. Also, the level of like the more you complain about it, the less demonetized you get.
Okay. Okay.
Like me complaining about it in videos actually helps the channel. So, um, I think it's possible that by complaining about it right at the beginning of the video, that reviewer, when they finally actually supposedly review it, will see that complaint and be like, oh, maybe I need to actually think about what I'm doing.
Mhm. Which
Um,
is what they should have done in the first place,
right.
honestly.
But it's not improving. It's literally only because of my complaints that half these things are able to get monetized. Like my video a few weeks ago on the culture war was initially demonetized for violence, even though it's the culture war. There's no violence. It's just a bunch of people yelling about you know curse words and music and stuff. Like it's nonsense, not violence.
Yeah.
um, and I think somebody literally just saw the word war in the name and went, ah, must be violence.
That just seems to be the way it is anywhere, any day now. They see war or warrior and they automatically think, oh, this has got violence in it.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what the name means, but also just the term culture war should be so obvious that it's not an actual war.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's like saying the war on poverty was you know people actually maybe if people could take that as let's go out and kill the poor, but um if you're not a Dead Kennedys singer, then it's actually an LBJ freaking um uh song policy.
Yep.
But that would require actually them paying attention to what they're doing. um and they also seem to have an explicit bias towards demonetizing anything that is on a controversial subject, even though it doesn't fit their guidelines for demonetization. They'll still demonetize simply because um you know they don't want that controversial subject being discussed on their platform.
Well, and I was gonna bring this up, and I think I will. I'll just do it now. Um, your Veterans Day video. Um,
Mm-hmm.
talking about your history in the military, but also just the government's actions against the veterans themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and let me try to, I guess, get the line here, because I wanted to say it was very inspiring, but at the same time, kind of frightening to me in that video because it seems like um, what you see through that video is the determination to at least right wrongs,
The termination of what?
to right wrongs. So, like when you brought up the bonus army,
Hmm.
um, I believe you, what was the after the Revolutionary War?
Probably Shays Rebellion.
Yeah, that was about the pay, right? Getting
Hmm.
the pay. Okay.
Getting bonuses.
Yep.
It's literally a bonus army.
but no, it just shows determination of veterans who get out and think that they've done what they should for their country. And with the right determination, we can right wrongs that are either done to us or society. I mean, at least this is what I'm getting out of these videos. Is there's always room to improve.
Sure. Yeah.
We should never keep getting stale.
Hmm.
Whether it's you know different kinds of things. I wanted to say, whether it's serving the communities or being politicians. And right now I'm just talking about veterans things. Like I was saying, I'm trying a new format, so I'm not sticking to which one I'm going to jump all over. But just service and trying to right wrongs.
Well, it's the a lot of that video is talking about how veterans have been mistreated over time, but it kind of turns, the story turns towards the better once the GI Bill is passed in 44.
Mhm.
And I mean, while we did see kind of a dark period in after the Vietnam War, which still keeps some anti-veteran rhetoric even today around, it's you know it's more of two steps forward, one step back, not the other way around.
Yeah. And I guess, and I guess I'm just gonna say this. I would say it's by perspective, honestly, because um, I went in 2006 and I was told don't go into the military, only idiots, dropouts, and uh slackers
Hmm.
go into the military. Go to college, make a life for yourself.
Yeah, that's actually a kind of rhetoric that dates back to at least the 1850s, where straight up army officers would say that of their own men. Um, it was very common for officers to be uh, rather disdainful of volunteers.
Yeah.
Um, the that was I mean, it is true that during like the Indian Wars, it was very common for people to join the army as a means of escaping punishment.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, there were tons of outlaws in the army, but mind you, at the period there were only 27,000 people in the army total. Um, that was the maximum troop strength from 1871 to um, 1916, with the exception, no, not 1916, 1898. So good 30-year period there. Yeah, 30 to
Mm-hmm.
40 years that you had 27,000 people, and good chunk of them were outlaws.
Mm-hmm.
So there was like during what's called the Great Call Up in 1916, um, when the National Guard got called up, hence the Great Call Up, to get sent to the Mexican border. during their troop movements throughout the nation, there were a lot of like kind of welcoming committees in that from local inhabitants as like the train stops, in the local town, and they see all these soldiers coming out. But there would be straight up like people going like, wait, are you a regular or are you National Guard? Okay, you're National Guard, cool. They were straight up like suspicious of regulars. So that's that's a reputation that the Army has had for a very long time.
But yeah, from what I hear, it seems like it's the opposite of today now. Now it's, regular Army. They see National Guard troops and they're like, are you Guard or are you us? It just seems like now the National Guard is just getting the short end of the stick in the Army.
Well, it always has. I mean, that's ever since the it's literally called the Dick Act of 1903. I kid you not. It's named after a guy who's a senator named Dick. What a terrible last name, right?
Yeah.
But it's technically the creation of the National Guard right there.
Okay.
The formulation of the National Guard from explicit state militias into National Guard, but it's really 1916 that turned it into a federally mobilizable thing. Because of that great call-up. I've been doing a lot of reading on this particular topic just recently. And the at that point they were still seen as like militia. And the Army still didn't like, these guys are getting mobilized down to the border, like places that are hot, and they're being issued like woolen uniforms while all the regulars get khakis. So this is right from the beginning. The National Guard has been given the short end of the stick when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Makes sense. You can just hand your surplus down to the new guys.
Yeah.
If only that could have worked for the Air Force. I'm just saying, Well,
there is such a thing as Air National Guard.
Yeah, and they use they're using older type of aircraft, but I mean it seems like because they come in and out of where I work, the planes do. So we watch them, take off, land. But I mean, they seem like they're very well maintained. So.
Yeah, I know our Humvees weren't definitely not well maintained when I was in the National Guard. Like, I remember one time when I was out at Fort Irwin, and we got into our trucks, and I kid you not, we're like halfway towards the range, and my door just straight up falls off.
Oh, I believe it.
It's like, it was one of those canvas doors, so it wasn't like the plastic ones, but but still, like, just because I was slightly leaning on it, it just bing right off.
Yeah, I can believe it.
I had to halt the entire convoy to grab my door.
Yeah. Oh.
Thank goodness that didn't happen, because we had to drive them from Las Vegas to Fort Irwin. So, if that had happened on the freeway,
oh yeah,
that'd be terrible.
That would be horrible. I can just imagine the news for that. So there was one thing I saw. So I went to go visit my son this past week, and while it was our last day with him, I noticed on the stoplight in Oregon, there was a sticker. You see those stickers around that have the little messages on them. And this one was looking or watching for fascist patriots. And I'm like, and I looked at it and I'm like, okay. I'm like, I want to put that in my mind so that when you come on and I can ask you, when did Patriot become a perversion? I think it wasn't your video. It was a podcast I listened to. And Patriot has never, from the beginning, has never had a good connotation. It was a negative. I think
I
it
wouldn't
was,
say that.
okay, so maybe it was a podcast, but I
I'd
got,
say a lot of people conflate patriotism with nationalism.
well, yeah,
Um,
no, I get that.
that's a
I
huge
mean,
problem
we
because
saw that on January 6th, you know,
mhm.
everyone was a patriot.
Yeah,
Everyone was out
which
there.
is how can you be a patriot while you're attacking your own capital?
Well, not only that, how can you be a patriot when you're demeaning the one thing that you say you support, which is the institutional process that was going on of voting, looking
Mhm.
at the votes, tallying the votes without disruption.
Mhm.
I believe it was the basic fundamentalism that when business is being conducted, and I don't care if it's state or federal, don't interrupt it. Or at least don't barge in and interrupt it.
Mhm.
Because what you're basically doing is telling everybody, I'm a fair weather constitutionalist when it suits me. I don't believe in why this country was founded.
And there's a reason why in that insurrection video that I did that I oriented it completely around the preamble of the Constitution
Mhm.
because it was kind of showing like various ways in which an insurrection violates the Constitution, and then I kind of culminated that with saying like January 6th violates all of them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They didn't allow representation to happen. They violated I wouldn't say, is there a law or would it be just a handshake agreement, a nod and wink about no weapons in the Capitol? I know
No,
that
it's a
they
law.
have, I know that they have actual signs because when I
Yeah,
went to
it's a
read,
law.
okay,
It's been a law. That's been a law the uh, since the 19th century, actually, when uh, congressmen literally you know fired a gun in Congress as like a way to shut up people, and
I could see
they're
that.
like,
Yeah,
I mean, that's how a lot of laws get made, right? It's like, you know,
after the fact.
after somebody goes like, you know what, we need to make that not illegal anymore. Like my favorite one in terms of laws specifically about Congress is that it is explicitly illegal to in the halls of Congress to have a sandwich in your back pocket.
Wow.
Now, you know, you think that's such a like oddly specific law, and then you realize, you know, that's probably because some dimwit freaking like put a sandwich in his back pocket and splattered it all over the
Yeah.
place, and everybody went like, you know what, Bob, screw you, we're making a law about that.
When you said that, I'm like, yeah, someone sat on a sandwich.
And like that's an actual like federal law.
No, I believe it. I believe it. You know, I find it very disingenuous now that everybody can't state an opinion.
Okay.
Or if you state an opinion, it has to be marked down. And I'm going to steer this toward your comment section. Your videos.
Ah.
And it's not so much, and I want to make this clear, all right? It's got nothing to do with, you willing to moderate your own comment section. I actually find that very refreshing that you do that. What I'm talking about is when you make a video and then someone calls, goes with the usual, that's not right, but I have no evidence.
I got a ton of that. Yeah.
Or I think one of the
It's
best
called-
ones was
That's called blanket refutation, by the way, is to claim something is wrong and then not back up that claim.
yeah, and I did that on one video. I think that was it might have been the culture war. It was on your Twitter account, and it was I put with no evidence to back up what I was saying. I just put the myth of Bushido, and bah, disappeared.
Huh? I don't even remember that.
Yeah, it's here, I can bring it up. And I'll probably get back to it once I look at it. But okay, let me. And I was just being a smartass, you know. But okay,
And if it's on my thing, I can just search Twitter with my tag, and then if
all right,
it's
I got it right here.
Bushido-
So it's on the 7th of May.
Huh,
People who
yeah,
complain about history being too PC or whatever are typically nationalists who despise the inclusion of marginalized voices. They
It didn't
technically
disappear.
don't
Yeah, I just
deny
found it.
America's white supremacist past, but simply don't want to talk about it. But isn't that functionally equivalent? I don't know about that. Every day I watch the Bushido Code myth creep into US history books.
I don't even know what that is referring to, but it
No,
didn't disappear. It's right there.
yeah, well, and that's why I said, because I didn't go back to it. I didn't look at, because you get notifications about replies or whatever, and blah, blah.
Yeah.
I didn't even look in my notifications, nothing like that. So I myself disappeared
Oh, I see.
from that reply. Like,
Yeah, I don't even know what you're referring to there.
well, and it's just something stupid. So it's
Like-
so basically what it is I'm Japanese Irish. A lot of people ask me, or when I tell them about how the Sengoku Jedi happened.
Those are like two islands on exact opposites of the world.
Right. I know. I'm sorry. But you know what? This is happening. This is feel the warm embrace coming.
Yeah, but about the Bushido Code.
Yeah. So it was always about honor and honor to one's family, honor to one's code, and all. That's what we got from the Imperial Japanese during World War II, the Bushido Code.
Yeah.
But if anybody actually looks at the history of the Sengoku Jedi, when there was actual samurai and the daimyos, or even the history even before that period, there was a lot of backstabbing that went on.
Oh yeah.
So much so that there
whole-
was no honor within the samurai itself.
The whole development of the Bushido Code is really a late 18th and early 19th century thing during the Edo period.
Well, yeah, it was. It started during the Edo period, but then it got really reinforced during the
Imperial Japan, completely recreated it, because obviously during the Edo period, it's for the samurai class and only the samurai class, when they had like literally the legal ability to just swipe down and smack down or kill a peasant at will for any kind of disrespect. And then applying the Bushido code under Imperial Japan as a something for all the population is like the exact opposite of what the Bushido code began as. So yeah, it's but it's also like the reason why it started in the late 18th and early 19th century is because people were just, samurais were publishing books
Mhm.
and you know talking about like how to be a better samurai. So it's the actual origin of it is more like an advice column
Yeah, pretty much
than
guidelines
than
on
an
how to.
actual like ethics code that everyone believed in. It was basically just a bunch of different people publishing what they thought would be good ethics.
Well, and I look at it like this. So going back, um, you know, I would say that the Bushido Code would basically be the South's lost cause. And the reason why I say that is because of this. If we actually, or, during the Warring States period, peasants could have came up and became samurai if they did so much for their lord.
I think you're banging the mic a bit, by the way.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't even know where the mic is on this computer. So, um, but yeah. So of course you're gonna, rewrite your history a little bit and serve as a code of ethics or a guideline for what it is to be a samurai from that point on.
Yeah, well, there's a much worse myth surrounding Bushido and all that in terms of Imperial Japan, and it's the myth that like it's atrocity denial. There's a ton of atrocity denial in Japan today, specifically regarding their misdeeds in Korea and China and all that kind of stuff.
I would say
A lot
less.
of them will straight up say that the Nanking massacre didn't happen.
Yeah, yeah.
And the rape of Nanking is absolutely something that they ought to acknowledge, and this is something that's like a more older generation of Japanese people are like that today they're becoming better. Same thing with like the lost cause, right? It's
Mhm,
while you definitely see a lot of lost causes on the internet, and that generally we as a nation have been getting better.
mhm.
um and that's where that myth is very similar to the lost cause, but I don't think that really has to do with Bushido in particular. I think that's more about just standard Japanese nationalism.
Mhm.
Nationalists prefer to deny the atrocities in their nation's history, and that's one of the fundamental differences between like nationalism and patriotism.
Yeah, and I was gonna say while you were talking, and I was going like this, and this. It's not so much. Um, it's I would say it's Japanese people and descendants, whether in Japan, other countries, or even this country, because I was a denialist growing up.
Mm.
I will admit it. I was a Japanese American who was fed on the old country. So my grandfather would talk about.
Sorry, I can't hear you over this. Really, that was literally a Prius.
It's
How
fine.
the heck is a Prius that loud?
So what part did you hear? Did not hear?
Uh, you said that you were a denialist, that
Yeah.
you were
Okay.
willing to admit it, and then
Okay. So yeah. So growing up, I was. I am. I've taken steps now, um, toward more Asian unity. Um, but yeah, when I was growing up, I was a Japanese nationalist.
Mm.
Um, and again, bringing up internment camps and all that and whatnot, my family's history. I not that far removed from my immigrant roots. I actually knew one of the last immigrants till I was 16 years old when she passed away.
And it was Issei?
Huh?
She was Issei?
Yeah, she was Issei. A lot of the Issei in my family didn't actually. My grandfather's side, they died young. My grandmother's side, my great grandfather died when I was, I guess, in utero. So when my mom was pregnant with me, he touched my mom's belly. My great grandmother touched my mom's belly, and before they refused to say anything to my grandmother and grandfather, but when they had my mom in private, they're like, "We hope it's a boy." Oh. But yeah, I was raised on Japanese nationalism. I was a denier. Um, Even after seeing videos, all of that, I'm like, people can make mistakes. Of course, I was a young kid. I didn't know the general effect that war crimes had on a nation or on people themselves. I would say that I went through that transformation. Crap. I mean, let's see, I'm 34. I'll be 35 in December. Maybe 6 years ago, when I was 28, is when I started going more into detail into researching it. And it was a interview that was conducted on former war criminals that had gotten their, were done with their sentences, that were a part of those massacres. It was an older Japanese man who basically told the interviewer that they didn't look at the people in Nanking like people. They were beasts. They were animals.
Yep. You can see all kinds of different atrocities when it comes to Nanking. The Japanese imperial rule was and conquest was particularly brutal. Especially considering this is 1930s and 40s. This is not like that long ago. And they have massive concubine complexes. They have biological weapons testing and possible usage. This is like Nanking is the rape of Nanking is just one of many atrocities.
Oh yeah. I would, you know what? And I would say the most, I guess the scariest one I delved into, and it's because, how we were test subjects to certain programs, like vaccines that were given to us, anthrax vaccine.
Oh, you're talking about as a veteran?
No, in the military itself.
Yeah, but I remember the anthrax vaccine.
I mean, technically, we were guinea pigs for whatever they wanted to bring out.
Well, that wasn't testing. That was the anthrax vaccine has been around for what, 3 decades now, something like that.
Have it?
Yeah, it's started being developed in response to the Gulf War. So,
All right. Well, thank you for correcting me on that.
But the anthrax vaccine is, the weird thing about that is that it's only something like once you're through the full regimen, which is what, 5 shots, I think, and they get progressively more painful, which is terrible. Like, you remember the 5th shot where it's like, it felt like somebody had like hit you with a hammer?
Well, the easiest way I explained it was, if someone was to take lava, put it into a syringe, and then put it into your veins, all the fire and pain that goes through your veins But you're
Yeah, I mean,
willing. This is I would tell people this is the only shot that I have known sane people to be willing to jump in that head in line in front of everybody else just so that they could get it over with and walk away.
mm. And with all of that, it only confers 70% immunity.
I did not know that.
Yeah. You're not even fully immune.
Well, I mean, you
And
you
also,
wouldn't be though.
also you're
I
supposed
mean,
to get a booster shot every like 5 years or something like that.
was it 5 years?
Um,
Because
to
I have
maintain.
8 shots. I have 3 boosters, and it was maybe for the Navy it was different because I know they were telling me to get a booster yearly.
Uh, I
So
think it's more than a year that you between them, but you know it's like the army um loves to just put as many vaccines in your arms as like because of all the stuff that I got from like the anthrax vaccine and that um and those stupid malaria pills which apparently cause brain damage. um the uh the the I wasn't allowed to give blood until literally this year. Um, like I for a decade after all of those shots, I was not allowed to give blood.
that is amazing.
Um,
Well, I wonder why that is though. Because
it's because of all the different gunk they shoved in our arms, you know.
okay,
Um,
well, because in the Navy we were always given we had a test first. So you get your blood test, you get your blood drawn. They go through, make sure it's not dirty. And then because
oh,
that was a way for me to get out of duty, is I would
I
go.
meant giving blood to like blood banks and that in civilian life. Like because of my military service, I was not allowed to give blood in civilian life
Huh,
until literally the beginning of this year.
huh. I did not know that.
Um, it's just it's because of the vaccines. They have like a certain questionnaire that like, have you been vaccinated or took a pill or whatever in the last 10 years? That's X, Y, and Z, and it's like, well, yep. So I can't. It was. I think it was actually the anthrax vaccine. Like in Afghanistan, for instance, we actually we had a few times where they straight up were like, would go running through the freaking thing going like, anybody with pause, come here. And they'd straight up like, I had a couple times where I actually donated blood directly to the person,
Okay.
you know, and they're just like, you know, anybody with pause, come to the freaking shack. Um, and try to keep these people alive by
Mhm.
literally using us as physical, blood banks.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
um and uh the um so obviously that wasn't a concern in the military. It was like whether or not you have had X vaccine or anything. I'm pretty sure that just has to do with how the American Red Cross designates what can be blood bankable or whatever the word is for that.
Yes, I am learning a lot. I really am. Wow. And as you can see, I ask the questions because not only do I want to know, but this is useful for somebody. You know, it's useful for somebody. Somebody will take something out of it.
Mhm.
Or go see your videos as they keep going
Yeah.
through the
Well,
spiral of YouTube, like we all get into.
yeah, well, there's a lot of content now. that um Heck, there's even like another YouTuber who did a like similar video to my veterans video. Knowing Better did a video that was similar recently.
Yep, I saw
Um,
his. That was a good one.
hmm um, the though his video didn't get demonetized. My Veterans History video actually got demonetized for almost an entire year.
Oh, I remember that. I did the episode because of that one.
Yeah, that one, that was demonetization that I got pissed off about.
You weren't the only one. My wife was. I was on the phone, and I was like, and I was something about you were talking about. My Veterans Day video was demonetized. If you can help me out, And I go up there and I'm watching your Veterans Day video, and I'm like, what? What about this just screams anything? Because even you said in that video, I am being very careful so I don't get demonetized for violence.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, so he was careful. So, and this is why I wanted to do this video, is because that is one example where it's like, okay, you were careful about it and they still demonetized it. What
Yeah.
does what do you, and I would say, maybe, is it Griffin, armchair historian?
Griffin Johnson, yeah.
Okay, Griffin Johnson, or anyone else that does something, whether controversial, has violence, may contain some hate because of the subject involved, doesn't mean they're promoting it. That's part of the topic of the video.
Yeah. Like that party switch video, for instance, got demonetized for the fact that I played a clip where somebody says the N-word several times.
Mm-hmm.
But like that is actually kind of vitally important.
Yeah.
To hear that, to censor that would be to diminish the power of that quote.
Well, and this is why I say that wasn't violent.
Well, it did violate their profanity guideline.
It did, and you could consider it because,
but the problem there being that literally that clip was broadcast by NBC. So not just that it was on cable television, it was on broadcast television. And like that's where the I think it was the Washington Post who actually who did the interview and then released a clip in that. But NBC broadcast it, CNN broadcast it, Fox News even CNN and Fox News are not broadcast, they're cable, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And all of these programs had no advertiser repercussions whatsoever. Nobody pulled their ads because they used a quote that had the N-word in it.
Yeah.
It was never a concern for advertisers, and yet that's what guidelines are supposed to be about. And YouTube constantly just will make it up as they're going along in terms of actually enforcing it, and doesn't seem to understand what advertiser friendly means.
Mm-hmm.
So like literally their guidelines are a lie.
Yeah.
So
no, and keep going. And keep going, because they can't demonetize me. I'm not part of the partner program. I'm not making any money off my videos. And like I've told people in my videos before, as much as I love doing videos for veterans causes or even political stuff, or just if I want to do videos like this, I don't care if I get striked out on community guidelines and then my channel gets terminated. I will always find a way, even if it means having to go to certain suspect video options to get my videos out.
So a video getting demonetized doesn't mean that the video just like disappears or anything.
No, I get that.
What it does mean is that it gets demoted in the algorithm. This is something that YouTube constantly tries to say doesn't happen, and yet, every YouTuber can show evidence of exactly the opposite of what they say. Every time I get a video demonetized, you can see this. The chart has like a standard curve to how many views you get over time. They start off with a bunch, and then it kind of like slows down and flattens out after a while, right? But you could when it gets demonetized, you can see this curve suddenly go just take a hard right turn and just like instantly slow down like it hit a freaking wall. And that's from demonetization and very clearly connected to that. Then there's also the fact like they've recently not just demonetized but age restricted two videos of mine. The police brutality video, which yes does show police brutality, but it's kind of the topic. And they were perfectly fine with that until fairly recently when they said that they weren't going to demonetize those kinds of videos, and then suddenly they add age restriction on top of it. So they literally lied. Then, and worst of all, they age restricted my video on Schindler's List, which is and mind you, what age restriction means is that like literally anyone who has an account has to specify their age in their account. So you have to be signed in, and then it'll say like this video has been age restricted. Do you want to continue? And you hit that, but you have to be signed in. So no people who aren't signed in can see the video. And that user account has to be related to somebody who is 18 or older. As in, YouTube actually thinks that high schoolers should not learn about the Holocaust. That's literally the message there. They straight up think that high schoolers should not learn about the Holocaust. Mind you, technically, in order to run the main YouTube app, you're supposed to be 13 or older. Obviously, there's going to be kids who are not YouTube Kids app, but this would never have shown up in the YouTube Kids app anyways. It is specified as being for 13 and older to begin with. But like now they think that specifically 13 to 17-year-olds shouldn't learn about the Holocaust, which is like some draconian BS. And kind of scary, the implications of that.
And they are scary implications. 1 minute, I'm gonna pause the recording real quick. I gotta take a bathroom break. All right. Okay. And I agree with you. They shouldn't. I think it's very important that we not age restrict on history. Propaganda is different. History,
they have the tools. There's a lot of people who well, for instance, they keep on removing people from the platform for racism and that kind of stuff, and they have the tools to suppress them rather than just kick them off the platform altogether. Like I don't like the idea that like InfoWars got kicked off the platform altogether. Like could have disabled all interactions and not given any kind of and made sure that that it gets demoted in the in the algorithm. Like these are tools that they have and that they use. They actively use against history tubers, for instance. I have one video that they disabled all interactions. and that's funny thing is that's also a military video. That I talk a little bit about my time in the military. The tanks video. The U.S. versus Russian tanks.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
It's more talking about military strategy and how that reflects like how the powers viewed each other, rather than, it's kind of a misleading title.
I think that's another one that I listened to, didn't exactly watch. So I'll go back over it.
Man, that one's fun because it's like it's obviously I was a tanker, so like I'm just having a lot of fun. There's parts of it where it's like, I'm just making joke clips. There's a ton of jokes in there. I'm like, because I was also a scout, which means I dealt with the Brad, and I freaking hate that vehicle. And you can tell in my in that video that I don't like Bradleys. Like I'm constantly making fun of it. But you can only do that if you see it. But like that comment section was turned off by YouTube. And it's like, there was a stupid reaction video to it, and it's kind of like, all right, whatever. But the fact that they did that and suppressed the video is yeah, a bit of an issue. As soon as they did that, of course, you can see the graph and it goes, it just stops. Since they did that, it's gotten like 5,000 views total, and it had 140,000 up until then. So like you can tell, it was doing really well, and then suddenly just stops. Progress stops. And that's the real problem with this. Is I'm not worried about demonetization in terms of money in that. You're making a weird face.
Oh, I'm sorry. Keep going. I'm looking up right now that video.
But I'm not really worried about the money aspect of demonetization. I'm worried about the suppression.
Yeah.
Especially the suppression of history, which is just abhorrent.
Well, and as a viewer of your videos myself, I conflated demonetization and suppression. The only reason why I would say
not all videos that are demonetized get suppressed. For instance, the Lost Cause video is demonetized, and that one's doing quite well. So it just seems to have something that these two are connected. That suppression and demonetization are connected, but one does not necessarily follow the other.
Yeah. What am I thinking of? They're not co-aligned?
Yeah, you could say that. Well, I mean, no, they are co-aligned. They are co-aligned, but there's definitely a correlation there, but we don't know what the causation is because YouTube refuses to explain. They outright contradict themselves when they attempt to deny it.
Yeah.
So it's a problem that YouTube is actively trying to ignore.
Yeah, it does seem like that. I mean, and again, I view your videos. I like your content. I've been trying to get you on here for a while. And it hasn't worked out, but I guess because a lot of your viewers are so a lot of your viewers are into to what you make.
Mhm.
We and by viewing, it sounds stupid, and I do a lot of, I try to take a little bit of what I can as care as far as my videos are concerned too. I don't edit them, but I do try to make it very entertaining to keep all right, I'm losing my track here. Not so much the views, but to keep them coming back. And
Mhm.
a lot of your videos are very well done, and I mean, not only are they educational, but they're very entertaining. And so,
I can but try.
me as a viewer, when I hear about demonetization, and then the next um, video that could possibly come up is YouTube suppression. I'm gonna be angry about it because this is quality quality videos for me, and um, you know, so that's why I consider them correlate or cause and correlation to be the same. Like I was saying, that's why I
Mhm.
conflate the two together.
Yeah, they're connected in some way. We know that, but it's
So,
um
and I take it very personal when history YouTubers are getting suppressed. 1 minute. I'm gonna pause it one more time. To um, so yeah, I feel invested in your videos, and so that's why I conflate the two. Is because it's like you know, it seems like a slight onto me. I know there's many of viewers, but to me personally, it seemed like a slight.
mhm.
Everything that's going on. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not just to the viewer, but to the creator. Um, you know, I put a lot of work into these things. There's tons of research that goes into this stuff. I spend pretty much any time I'm not working on a video or on my dissertation or anything, I'm reading. Like that's all I do. And like it's like yesterday I felt like I was having a lazy day because I didn't do any reading up until I went to the brewery later on, but like literally um uh it felt like I had been being lazy because I had only read a chapter off of this book and like that feels like being lazy is literally just not reading enough
oh yeah,
to keep up with my reading load. But like, you know, when basically every waking moment is dedicated to studying history or producing it, um, the the um when you have a corporation as big as Google, um, basically stomping down on that process, it's you know sometimes feels like an existential crisis.
yeah, oh yeah,
um, the it's like I've had a number of times when they've done that, and I've just been like, should I even make YouTube videos anymore? Like, it really does come to that where I'll have all of this crap happening because I mean that's just like when we're talking about demonetization, that's just part of it. That's from the top down. We have, of course, the comments, which are from the bottom up. They're attacking constantly. I'm called names every freaking day. And you know, and some of the most wretched crap you can imagine comes from the comment section. So you're eaten from below and you're eaten from above. And I understand why, like, for instance, there are two women that I can think of in that are history YouTubers. Two. That's it. Two. Like, there's it makes it difficult for anything like that to even happen.
Mhm. Oh yeah. So I brought up that video and I've got the volume on the video off. But yeah, I can see where it says comments are turned off and
Yeah. So that one was actually disabled by YouTube themselves.
okay.
I do sometimes disable comment sections when they just get overran. I did that on the Slave Myths episode, the